Take that.
That's your intro.
All right, welcome back, guys. This is my friend Steve.
That's me.
Or as I like to call him, Steve Exotic, because he runs a zoo in his house. Oh, I love him. He's my favorite. Hi, Chloe.
Speak. He likes to catch animals and wrap them in.
Just to be clear, this is outside, not actually one of Steve's pets.
Of all the, Steve Irwin is so much better of an option, and we couldn't go, you had to go with the worst.
Well, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
We're gonna be talking today about dates.
Okay.
Who goes on them? What are they for? Why do we like them? Why do we not like them?
And we've got some stories.
Yes, let's talk about let's start with our worst date experiences. Mine is kind of recent, and I'm really hoping this person doesn't watch my channel because I'm totally going to be talking about it. Which this person now, I'm like, we're friends, but this person he's a good guy. It just was clear it wasn't gonna work out. So.
Okay, now I'm invested. All of us are like popcorn. This better be good, this better be horrible.
We've been on 7 dates. It was going okay. There were some things where I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I
have someone in mind.
You probably know who I'm talking about. So as I'm going on dates with this person, it's our 7th date. We decide to go to a club, and so we went to this club called Highland, and this was on like a Thursday night, or maybe it was a Thursday.
Is there people on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, there was hardly anyone there, but somehow we ran into a group of my friends, and I was like, hey, this is so-and-so. He sees somebody walk into the bar, and he turns to me and is like, oh man, that guy is hot.
Wow.
And while he was on a date with me, this is our 7th date.
Choices.
Earlier that date, he was talking about how if things were going really well, he wanted me to come to a wedding, like a family wedding later that summer. Oh. And I was like, wow, things are like progressing. I guess this is like the 7th date, and like
your little brain's just
I'm like, wow, I'm gonna meet his family. But I was already skeptical about some things, but this was like the cherry on top. so he's like talking about how hot this guy is that just walked into the bar. And I'm like, yeah, he's attractive. And he was, to be fair. Well, I noticed throughout the night, these two are eyeing each other. And if any of you that are gay know that like gay code, if you're looking at somebody at a club or at a party,
a restaurant,
and they're looking at you, that's code for like, come talk to me. Like,
okay, let's recreate it.
This is what it looks like.
Across the
So that's going down the entire night, and it's so obvious. I'm like, I'm just gonna spend time with my friends that we ran into and let him do his thing. I'm like talking to my friends. I turn around and they're together talking at the club, and I was like, dang, this guy he's shooting his shot. And
like with no remorse.
Yeah, like literally while on a date.
You're like in the background.
Yeah, no, honestly. And then
it's just you in the background, like.
No, I was like, I'm gonna go have fun with my friends. I'm not gonna worry too much about it.
What do you do?
Literally 30 minutes later, he's still talking to this guy, and my friends are like, oh, let's go to another bar. Let's go to a bar called Rain. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. And I was debating, should I just go?
Yeah, right.
So I ended up going up to him and being like, hey, so me and some friends, we're gonna go to Rain. You can stay here and you guys can chat if you want.
That would not have been me. Too nice.
Then I was like, but I'm gonna head out, and he was like, oh, no, I'm gonna go with you. And so he ends up coming with me. So we get to rain, and we're having a good time, and I'm giving him a hard time about something.
Oh, the joking like.
Yeah, well, I wasn't, and I wasn't giving him a hard time about talking to this guy. It was something completely unrelated. And he says, "You better be careful. I'm gonna leave you for that other guy." Literally, he's like, "You better be careful, or I'm gonna like hit up this guy I was just chatting with." I knew the second he made that joke too. I was like,
audacity.
I was like, this is the end.
So, Adele starts playing, "This is the end." You know, holding breath though, you're just letting it out.
I played it cool like the rest of the night.
Did you just giggle, or you just like, ah?
Yeah, I was like, ah. And then I was done. But the end of the night, we're walking out of rain. We were planning for me to come over and help him like paint a fence or something. Like
in the middle of the day?
Like the next day.
Oh, because now he wants you to do labor.
But he was like, "Hey, you should come over before we're gonna paint, and we can like play games and hang out." And I was like, you know, I don't think it's gonna work out. I think this is where we say goodbye. Yeah, so that was one of my like worst dates recently.
I'm in college. Someone asked to go on a date with me, and so I agreed to it. Seems like a nice guy, has a great social media profile, very fit, very attractive. You know, and my initial instinct was like, okay, I'm gonna test this out. So then we end up deciding to go on the date at Starbucks, of all places. And so I show up and I'm like, "Hi," he seems friendly. I don't discriminate on height, but it does come into play a little bit in the end. So he's like way shorter than I thought he was. But I don't care. I go on this date, and the entire time, literally the entire time, he is just talking about himself, like nonstop. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this guy hasn't asked me a single question. He just seems douchey in general. And so I'm like, no, this is a big no for me, right?
Right.
And so we walk out into the parking lot, and this is downtown Austin, so the Capitol is like walking distance, right? And he's like, do you want to like walk to the Capitol and just like continue hanging out and getting to know each other? And I'm very like nervous when it comes to like rejecting people in person. And so this is the first time I've ever been like, no. And I was like, I'm sorry. And the reason the shortness comes into play, because he's like,
"Wanna go walk with me downtown?"
I'm like looking down at him, and I'm just like, no. Almost like, I was like, sorry, like, this just isn't gonna work. And he's like, "Oh, why not?" And I was like, I'm sorry, it's just, I'm not feeling it. I wanted to be like, because all you did was talk about yourself. Little backstory. I'm the youngest of 3 boys, so I've got 2 older brothers. And my middle brother is also gay. And so in college, once he came out to me, we ended up being a lot closer of friends. And we were sharing like our worst dating, you know, experiences. And he's like, "Oh, I went on this date with this guy, and all he did was talk about himself." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's just like mine." And he's like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so douchey, and like, I couldn't get a word in, and he just was so shallow, and like, yeah.
It was the same person.
It was the same guy. I was like, I'm gonna go, you know, dig a hole and bury myself.
Man, never have I ever been on the same date with somebody that my brother went on a date with.
Loose finger.
This was actually a good date experience. So it sounds like it was a bad date experience at first, but it was actually good. So this girl invites me to go horseback riding, and it's a double date, and me and this guy are like, we were friends, and I was like, should we? No, so it was a double date, so I knew the other guy that was going on the date with the other girl. Anyways, we're excited, we show up, and the girls are waiting there, and there's no horses. And first of all, I'm thinking to myself, this trail we're going on, I've been on. I don't know how we're gonna go horseback riding on this, because it's kind of an intense hike. I was like, how are we gonna do this? So I show up, the horses aren't there, and they're holding stick horses in both of their hands. And they give us the stick horse.
The out of here.
I was like, wow, this is really stupid.
They
But
win.
but
They
yeah,
win.
no, it was actually such a fun date. And I think because it started off on such a lighthearted, like funny note that they were like pranking
They just
us.
like,
yeah, it like turned out to be such a fun date. But
did you like all the way up the?
no. But we did partially.
So there was 4 horses.
There were 4 stick horses. What are your red flags when you're on a date with a guy?
Oh, I thought you meant like China's red flag and. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, what's your favorite red flag?
Simple one, eye contact. If they're like just kind of like, even if they're shy, I'm like, I'm bored. It's just not gonna work out because.
Oh, if they're avoiding eye contact.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know? And I understand being shy and like, you know, uncomfortable, but it.
Have you ever had somebody that does too much eye contact? Because I have.
You're like.
Because I had somebody I was going on a few dates with once, and my friends were like, have you noticed that he's always staring at you even when you're not talking to him? Or he's not talking to you? and I was like, no, but I noticed it later. I was like, after they mentioned it, I was like, is he looking at me? I could like feel when he was looking.
So he was just always like,
So
I'm gonna do that for the rest of this video.
he was a little intense, and my friends knew that. And he was the nicest guy ever, but he was just very intense.
I mean, you've had worse.
Yeah, I definitely had worse. I'm not talking about my worst date ever, because that's in my coming out video.
Yeah, go back to that link in the top corner. Eye contact is one. Another like red flag is when they take it too far too quickly.
Okay, yeah.
Like when it's just, it's either like way too sexual from the very beginning. Like, I'm like, this ain't no just a hookup. Like, I'm interested in getting to know you, and all you care about is how voluptuous my booty
If it gets physical soon, oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes, it's not gonna last. I don't know. Yeah, the anticipation of being physical with somebody is like a good way to like tie you guys together.
And it's also, it's one of the fastest way to actually get to know if the person's right for you or not. But yeah, so overly sexual at the start. 2, I think kind of goes with over sexual, but the opposite of just way too emotionally like
Attached.
right, like just in love.
That's what I thought you were talking about when you were saying moves too fast. If it is, yeah, if somebody's like talking about being in a relationship with you on the first or second date, that's a red flag for sure. It's a red flag for me if somebody is not comfortable with their sexuality. It's a huge red flag for me. If somebody is internally homophobic, which is way more common than you would think, it's it causes a lot of issues.
People can be out and still have a wild amount of internalized homophobia that leaks into any relationship they have.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's an important one.
Write it down, take your notes, do your thing.
Okay, what are some things that attract you to a person?
Money.
You know?
You know? Okay, so smile is a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, they fucking cute smile, like look at this little face. Someone who can, you know, just look at me and grin will make me grin. Sympathetic smiler.
Yeah, I'm a sympathetic laugher.
Yeah, oh, and you just chuckle. You also laugh at everything. You just chuckle.
I do, I know.
You're trying not to, see?
Yeah, it's true. People tell me that all the time.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it is too much though. Need to dial it back a little.
You're like, my grandma died.
I don't think I'm that bad. I think I know there's appropriate times not to be laughing. But yeah.
I would say another is just kind of innate confidence. Someone who's assured, or like someone who's, you know, yeah, self-assured. Someone who understands who they are and like knows what they want. And
yeah, that's what I was about to say, is somebody that knows what they want. Like to me, that's so attractive. People that know what they want are going to simplify so much of the relationship.
he knows what he wants.
Decisiveness is attractive. It's true. As long as they're open to like, I don't know, compromising.
Adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as they're open to compromising, like, I think it's super attractive to be decisive.
So hot.
Yeah. So hot.
So hot.
I think it's so attractive if somebody is funny.
That is like,
Goes a long way.
that is a fundamental for like my type. If I'm gonna marry a man, if I'm even gonna like date someone long term, I want them to be able to, especially if I'm like frustrated or in like a poor mood, if they can just knock me out of it with a little nudge nudge dad joke or whatever, just to make me like stupid giggle, it just like, it is a dream. Like,
I feel ya.
That is a #1 goal. Like, screw this cute smile. Well, we like that too, but yeah, humor.
Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. And Steve, thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, it's always good to see you.
And if you guys want to catch more of Steve, you can find him on Instagram at It's Literally Just Steve.
All of those words together.
Or he's on all the social medias, so you can check him out.
Allegedly.
All right, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.